Ukraine in the membrane. Welcome back to Toast. I am so excited to continue talking about Ukraine today. I have my favorite region of Ukraine, even more than Lviv. For those of you who know me, I fell in love with Lviv. But wow, this part of Ukraine, it's in the southeast. It's called Kherson Oblast. Oblast is kind of like region or province or state. It was spectacular. So without further ado, this is going to have a lot of sustenance, so I'm jumping right into it. At some point, I'm in southern Ukraine. I'm in Odessa, or Odessa, as locals will call it, the second biggest city, beach, coastal town. They kind of bombed the huge cliffs and made it all beaches and a huge city out of it, made of limestone. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, kind of Austro-Hungarian architecture, very historical and important in history, whatever. So I'm in Odessa. Why did I go to Odessa? I didn't really like Odessa the first time I was there because I wanted to go to Kherson. What's in Kherson Oblast? Like, what is there? It's not. Nobody goes there. It's not on the map. It's not a tourist destination. Nobody even knows it exists. Even like Ukrainians are like, why are you there? What's there? So, in a nutshell, I heard in Lviv, in my favorite cafe, Damn Lviv, represent, that there are zebras in Ukraine. And I was like, no way, I need to go see it. I absolutely need to go see the zebras in Ukraine. There are zebras in Ukraine. How? Ukraine is cold. Like, we hear, historically speaking, people are trying to invade Russia. They're going through Ukraine. Winter comes, they die. So how did the zebras not die if like Napoleon died and like Hitler died, or not them, but their armies died, but the zebras can survive? Like, what up? Like, what's going on here? So the history of the zebras in a nutshell is that this like rich German guy showed up at some point in that area, and he was like, okay, this place looks like Africa. And like, I'll get to that part of the story later, but like, he's like, this place looks like Africa, so let's import, exotic animals. So he brings the zebras, and he brings antelopes, and he brings American bison and buffalo. So he's bringing all of these animals that don't exist in that area to that area to see how they do. Spoiler alert, they thrive. All of them did well. There's Mongolian horses. They're just living the life. And so I was like, okay, that story sold me. I'm going to Kherson. So we go from Odessa to Kherson. We rent a car, and essentially, just driving down to this one place that we had heard of before. So I'm gonna, I'm juicing you guys up for the zebras. We didn't go straight to the zebras. We went all the way through Kherson Oblast, which is like beautiful things. We're seeing like this kind of Sea of Azov, which was a sea I didn't even know existed until that very moment. I'm like, this is not the Black Sea. I'm like, no, this is the Sea of Azov. And I said, okay, whatever that is. So then I'm going and I'm driving to this beautiful thing called a pink lake. What exactly? So there's basically like a salt lake right next to the Black Sea. There's actually a few of these in Crimea, but Crimea is inaccessible from Ukraine. Guess what? Guess why? Sorry. So essentially, we're going for like the next best thing, which is in Kherson Oblast. They also have a few of these, pink lakes. And so we're kind of looking for signs. You see the sign, Rozovy Ozera, and you're like, okay, cool. Like, we go to the pink lake, and just like, wow, it's just pink. Like, what is this world, And it was like kind of sunset, looking for like a good place to enjoy the sunset. And I just kind of got the tent so that we could go camping outside and just kind of like enjoy this pink lake kind of serenity. And this lake is pink because it's like a salt lake. And so as like the old salt from the sea kind of gets more and more dense as like it evaporates and freezes in summer and winter, it just gets more and more saline, and essentially this creates this like pink hue. I'm not doing it justice. Go check it up on Wikipedia. They'll explain it a lot better. But it's really cool because, like the Dead Sea, in the Jordan episode, they have kind of this like, super skin care mud that you can use to like wipe on your face and whatever. And so you can like do like the full black kind of like look, So I was obviously in a bathing suit, and I wiped this all over my body, and then I was like 100%, like as black as my phone. It was really interesting to just do that. And when you like, get in the lake to wash it off, you just feel like the softest your skin has ever been. I can't recommend these salty bodies of waters and their weird, muddy substances for your skincare. If you're all about that, the Dead Sea stuff, the Pink Lake stuff, that's where it's at, as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, it was pretty interesting, these Pink Lakes. And so we ended up camping, doing a little bit of cooking. And at some point I went outside and I was just like making a fire, and like I was like the onslaught of mosquitoes. I've never, ever in my life, I promise you, never like heard mosquitoes so loud. Like there were so many mosquitoes that it was like an onslaught. Like even like I ran away. Like I couldn't get the fire started. I was literally getting eaten alive. My legs, my arms, my neck, my ears, everything was just getting onslaughted at the same time. And so I just, I said like, okay, I can't die from mosquitoes right now. Even though they kill more people than anything else. Yeah. Talking about you, COVID. So I just couldn't keep a straight face on that one. Mosquitoes kill people. And I didn't want to die from mosquitoes. So I said, fuck this shit. I'm going inside the tent. And you can hear them from inside the tent. Like outside, they're like, it was like a rocket was outside. It was insane. But luckily, after a while, they kind of like left, I guess. And like mosquitoes really come out at like sunset. So after beautiful sunset pictures, all of that jazz, made lunch in the tent, sadly, or dinner in the tent, and then kind of went outside and was able to enjoy the night a little bit. And yeah, so kind of woke up the next day to just really, do this like the exploration of this oblast, this region, kind of just like, let's do the non-conventional things. Let's like enjoy this town. So we kind of went to I don't even remember what it was called. We went to one of these small towns that was kind of it's really Russian area. Let's just leave it at that. They are all like Russophones, so Russian speaking people, but they are Ukrainian. But it was very interesting because I was with a woman who doesn't like speaking Russian, so she never spoke Russian, even though she's able to. So she just kind of communicated in Ukrainian, and there's a lot of like shocks and things like that in that. And our main kind of concern was like, we need to get water because this pink salt lake, kind of like the Dead Sea, it just really sucks all of the moisture, and it just dehydrates you. And because we were there and we camped right next to it, like we didn't really have any other options. So we just kind of wet wiped ourselves for some hydration because our skin was getting salty and gross, and you start becoming like a petrified human. Like you move and your skin is cracking. It's a weird feeling. I don't recommend it. So the main idea was like, let's just go to a beach and like let's enjoy it. So we go to the Sea of Azov. I'm like, let's do it. And we go in, and there's massive jellyfish, like way too many jellyfish. And I'm like, okay, like I don't really want to swim, but at least like kind of like showered a little bit, have a little picnic over there. And then we went to the town, which was like Henichaysk or something like that. It was the name. And we found a nice little cafe. We had some lunch, sirniki, things like that. And then we just kind of I decided like, I just want to like road trip like the proper way. And so we kind of road trip around the coast and really just enjoyed that entire like scenery, the landscape of everything. And I was thinking of like, oh, do we go see the zebras? Do we go see the zebras? And then it was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go to the zebras. And so we drove to the zebras, and maybe half an hour out of where the zebras are, the landscape changed. Like, we were driving coastal, like on peninsulas and these things like that. And it's very green and very blue. And suddenly flat, dry, looked like no life was there. It was just grasslands. Like you were expecting a lion to jump out and jump on the car. And so I was like, wow, I can actually see how this German guy 130 years ago was actually able to imagine zebras here, right? So then we make it to like where the zebra area is, and I realized it, like, this is it. Like, he was right. And there were like tumbleweeds. I've never seen tumbleweeds. Tumbleweeds are like those little things you see in like the Western movies that like roll across the road, and they're like, what are they made of? I don't even know. I still don't even know, but I hit like 7 of them. I probably saw 100 of them. I've never seen this many. It was like tumbleweed. Oh, tumbleweed. Oh, tumble. Oh, hit the tumbleweed. Like, it was absolutely insane. Anyways, we get to this place. And by the way, it's called Ascania Nova. So that's a really cool name. I don't know what Ascania means, but Nova means new. So like New Ascania, which is great. So essentially, we missed the train. It's kind of like a train bus tourist cart thing that was going. And it's because we got there at like 3 or something. And they leaves at like every hour on the hour. And so we got there at like 3:05. We missed it. So we go into like the park. And as we're like walking through this beautiful lush green park, I'm picking leaves, and I'm like, oh man, maybe the zebras are gonna like these, like they're eating this shitty, like dry grass, like Africa, like maybe they'll like these exotic leaves that I can get from trees that are not actually native to this part of Ukraine, but definitely native to Ukraine. So I'm like snagging leaves and putting them in my pockets and putting them in a bag. I'm like, I'm gonna feed these zebras something they've never tasted before. It's gonna be like the first time you have Chinese food or like Indian food. It's gonna be great. By the way, eat borscht. So finally we get to the zebras. We fast forward an hour going, and this guy is just like the coolest small Ukrainian guy. He's just like calling the zebras, and like he's telling everybody that he's worried about me because I'm the only foreigner, and then he's like, he can't control me, and it looks like I'm trying to feed the zebras like random things. And so you're supposed to, when you see the zebras, the beautiful thing is like if they look like they're coming too close to you or you're scared, you're supposed to go like this, so I'm like doing this to the zebras, but then at the same time I'm like this, and I'm like, oh, you want to eat this, and then I'm trying to pet them. I'm like, all right. And so I pet some zebras, which was really cool. And they're a little snappy. They're still zebras. They're or zebras, as some of you call them. Zebras are not known for being nice animals. They're actually like the most aggressive horses in the world. So I don't suggest petting zebras, but these ones are, like I said, they're kind of tame. So most of them don't come to the like cart that you're in, the tourist cart, but some of them do. And those, it's like from their choice. And essentially, like they have like infinite land. You can't see where the fence is, but there is a fence. So they're not fully wild zebras. They put a fence because apparently one year there was a shortage of food for the wolves, and the wolves were just starting to kill all the zebras and the Mongolian horses. So they built like a fence, but like way too far, like to the point where you don't see it. So not fully wild. I'll give it that. I support it because, well, they're still surviving, and despite like these crazy, weather conditions and stuff. And they have a lot of space, a lot. So now that I'm done justifying that, we move from the zebras to like the antelope. There's only one antelope that actually comes, but the other ones you just need like binoculars to see. Same with like the bisons and the Mongolian horses. Like almost none of them come. The zebras, there's like a few of them that come, but the other ones not so much. So it's kind of like, felt like a real like safari to a certain degree, but without like the lions and the cheetahs coming out to kill some of the things that you wanted to see. Nonetheless, I had a lot of fun, and I just can't believe that there's zebras in Ukraine. That it was like the first zebras I've ever interacted with. And they have like specific like stripe patterns that are like white and black. I don't know if you know this about zebras, but there's also some gold. There was like some beige or gold in there. So I'm like, I don't know what that is. If you know what that is, send me a message. I want to know, what are these gold stripes? Because like there was like black and white, and then like black, white, and gold. So I don't know. It was pretty cool. Maybe it's just a Ukrainian one. Maybe it's, it was 12 generations. They've been there for 12 generations of zebras. So maybe after 12 generations, they now have the Ukrainian genome of zebra. Now, to kind of wrap up the rest of the story, real quick, we left the zebra area. I'm looking at the map. I'm like, hey, we got like an hour and a half until like sunset. I want to go camp at a nice place to watch the sunset. Again, camping. I know I'm a horrible person, but I just really wanted to camp. So drive down to like the coast again, find another peninsula where like you're on this like narrow strip of land of about a road wide. Actually maybe like 2 roads wide. And there's a road in the middle. And that's where I said, like, this is the spot, because we could see sunset right here looking at the west, and we could see sunrise on this side looking at the east. And because it's sea as far as you could see, well, it was true. That's what we ended up seeing. So we saw sunset on the side that we camped on. We woke up in the morning, bright and early, get up, let's go see sunrise. And then I'm a huge fan of sunrise. So we get up, we see sunrise, and then kind of hit the road soon after, made breakfast and whatever. This is the last thing for the Kherson Oblast, aside from the city of Kherson, which I think was really cool, but nothing too intense to talk about. There's a desert in Ukraine, and it's called Oleshki Sands. So essentially, I was like, wow, not only just go to zebras, there's pink lakes, there's Oleshki Sands, go to Kherson Oblast. It's sick. It's super sick, and it's like real prices. It's not expensive. So we end up going to this Oleshki Sands, like desert, and they have some trails. You can't really go everywhere in the desert because there's actually like Ukrainian military training area. So essentially, you're walking through these desert trails, looking kind of for the wayfarers or the way markers, like in the distance, and you hear guns like shooting, and like sometimes cannons and whatever. So you hear like artillery and guns, and you're like, whoa, this is crazy. And I was there wearing, because I'm going to the desert, I'm gonna do it, I just came back from the Middle East, I had my head wrapped in a turban, but I didn't know that there was a military training ground first. So now I'm like, oh no, there's like a random Arab walking through the Ukrainian desert, I might get shot and like left for dead or whatever. Finally, obviously that didn't happen, but I had a good laugh, and it was really cool to see, like the desert in Ukraine. You see tiny tracks of like a few animals, like a few snakes and little bird steps and things like that. So it was really, really nice to be able to see a desert in a country that you didn't think there's a desert, to see zebras in a country where there shouldn't be zebras, to be pink lakes, to this, I don't know, this whole region of Ukraine blew my mind. And kind of purely for like tourism, like sightseeing and mind, like, food for thought kind of things. Nothing really like that made me experience anything out of this world, but it was really nice to do it. And, renting a car and just having that experience in a country like Ukraine. And also, like, it was just so much fun for me because I was living in Lviv, which is Ukrainian speaking, as I said last episode, and going down to Kherson, which is very Russophone, like I said. So they speak Russian. I was finally able to practice this language I'd been studying for 6 months or something, maybe not 6 months at that time, but it just felt like that, like, first real pay out of like months of studying and lessons and videos and whatever it was. So it was a really nice experience. And yeah, I really suggest these types of things. And that's the thing that you should maybe get from this episode, which is sometimes the best places in a country, or the things that you like the most in the country, are not necessarily on like the tourist trail or the gringo trail, as some countries would call it, because everyone kind of says like cookie cutter, like you should go to this place, and this place. And chances are this place, and that place are really nice. But if you limit yourself to those three, then like you're just going to get the same experience as everybody else. And that's totally cool. Like, you can do it. But if you don't, and if you do your own research and you find that there's this other place, maybe with zebras or mountains or beaches or whatever, that people don't know about, like, for example, the Sea of Azov, I didn't know about it. And suddenly I was like, well, wait, I've never heard of it. I want to go, swim in the sea. Like, I was in the Black Sea yesterday. Now I want to go into the Sea of Azov, which is cool. And it was like a beach made of seashells. So I was like, I want to do this. And that was for me. That's not so that I could come here and tell the story. It's because I thought that a pink lake was cool, and zebras are cool, and a desert in Ukraine is cool, even though I was in a desert in Egypt. So, just stay true to yourself. Make sure that if you want, and if you have the time to do things that are, off of the tourist trail, you are the person who makes that decision. So, travel safely, but stay curious. All right. Toast out.